Dear teacher trainees, you're welcome to my class. Here I am standing before you to help you able to learn certain basic information and facts associated with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, particularly in the areas of empowerment in education. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is the Government of India ministry established to take responsibility for welfare, social justice, and the empowerment of disadvantaged and marginalized sections of society, including scheduled castes, and the backward classes, the disabled, the elderly, and the victims of drug abuse and the street children too. So these ministry holds cabinet ranked as a member of the Council of Ministers and is assisted by a Minister of State. Now let me tell you something about the history of the creation of the ministry. Yes, it was during 1985-86 when the former Ministry of Welfare was divided into the Department of Women and Child Development and the Department of Welfare. At the same time, the Scheduled Caste Development Division, Tribal Development Division, and the Minorities and the Backward Classes Welfare Division of the Ministry of Home Affairs and the WAC Division of the Ministry of Law led those ministries to form the new Ministry of Welfare. Again, the Ministry of Welfare adopted the name Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment in May 1998. And 1 year later, that is in October 1999, the Tribal Development Division left the ministry to become its own ministry, known as the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. And later in January 2007, the minorities division and the work unit were moved out of the ministry to form the Ministry of Minority Affairs, and the child development division left the ministry to form the Ministry of Women and Child Development. So their studies, as you know, the creation of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has some specific objectives. Let me spell out the objectives before you. Uh, Social justice and empowerment is to bring those sections of the country's population into the mainstream of development by assisting them to overcome these social, physical, and educational handicaps. So, in this way, their progress through capacity building can be ensured, and this would equip them to employ their capabilities to their fullest potential, reducing their reliances or dependence on others and achieving independence to the maximum extent possible. The ultimate goal of such assistance extended by the government of India. So it is the intention of the ministry to encourage horizontal spirit of development alongside sectoral growth and in the spheres that have received comparatively less attention or may need more attention. So this ministry set up the Babu Jagjivan Ram National Foundation to propagate the ideologies and the philosophy of Babu Jagjivan Ram. Well, the administration of the ministry is carried out in such a manner that the ministry has five bureaus, and this bureau is headed by a joint secretary of the government of India. So these five different, bureaus include the Scheduled Caste Development Bureau, Backward Classes Bureau, Coordination, Media and Administration, Disability Bureau, Social Defense Bureau, and the Project Research Evaluation and Monitoring Bureau. Apart from the five bureaus mentioned above, the administration and the function of the ministry is again supported by three statutory bodies. This include the Office of the Chief Commissioner for Persons with Disabilities, New Delhi, National Trust for the Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disabilities, and the third, Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI. Yes, interestingly, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment also has instituted a number of national institutes. So national institutes or central institutes are institutes established by the government of India and supported by national agencies such as CSIR, ICR, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, DBT, DST, ICMR, DAE, MSRD, etc., etc., including the prestigious institutes of national importance. Let me tell you one by one. The important national institutes so far established by the ministry include Ali Yavar Zang National Institute for Hearing Handicap, Mumbai, Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Institute for the Physically Handicapped, New Delhi, National Institute for Orthopedically Handicapped, Kolkata, National Institute of Mentally Handicapped, Secunderabad, National Institute of Visually Handicapped, Dehradun, National Institute of Rehabilitation Training and Research, Cuttack, National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disabilities, and Indian Sign Language Research and Training Center. Besides the above mentioned activities, ministry also has take off for significant public sector undertakings. This include National Handicap Finance and Development Corporation, Artificial Limb Manufacturing Corporation of India, Composite Regional Centers for Persons with Disabilities, and the Public-Private Partnership Indian Spinal Injury Center. So, since its creation, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has taken up a number of major activities for the welfare of population belonging to scheduled caste categories in the country. To begin with, the Union Cabinet approves transformatory changes in post-matric scholarship for scheduled caste students. So it was really a big push on the part of the government of India on education for scheduled caste students. The ministry approved as much as 59,000 crores of rupees in post-matric scholarship scheme for more than 4 crores of scheduled caste students in 5 years. And the side by side in 2019, the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act was passed. The national portal for transgender persons was launched on 25th November 2020, and on 26 June 2020, the NASA Mukh Bharat against drug abuse and illicit trafficking was also launched. Other important major activities include launching of Ambedkar Social Innovation and Incubation Mission under Venture Capital Fund for scheduled caste students, then the launching of the Social Justice and Empowerment 24 by 7 toll-free mental health rehabilitation helpline. Significantly, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment also signed an MOU with the National Council for Education Research and Training for converting education materials into Indian Sign Languages on 6 October 2020. Interestingly, the ministry also arranges free meals for more than 1 crore destitute beggars or homeless persons during COVID lockdown on 15th April 2020. Uh, and the side by side, the ministry also made an improvement in National Overseas Scholarship Scheme for scheduled caste students with effect from the year 2020-21. The ministry also organizes a visit of disabilities to experience accessible tourism with an objective to promote craftsmanship and the products of Devian artisans and entrepreneurs. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment also organizes a week-long Ekam festivals during 2nd March 2020. So, the friends, as a part of the major activities of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment for the welfare of senior citizens in the country. Our Honorable Prime Minister distributes daily living aids and devices to senior citizens and Devanjan at Vigis Iver RVY and Adif came at Prayagraj on 29 February 2020. And again on 9 September 2020, action plan for the year 2020-21 of all schemes of the Department of Social Justice and Empowerment was also released. So the Honorable Minister, Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment virtually inaugurated International Conference on Mental Health looking beyond COVID-19 on 8 October 2020 recently. Yes, the ministry also observed Constitution Day. So it was on 24th December 2020 when the Honorable Minister of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment launches mobile application called Swasta Abhiyan, mobile if. Well, my dear friends, since the subject matter of the lesson is the roles of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, I won't touch much upon the details on the schemes and the programs undertaken by the ministry in the areas of economic and the social empowerment. The following are the important programs and the schemes undertaken for economic empowerment of scheduled castes and Safai Karmacharis in India. So this include National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation, National Safai Karmcharis Finance and Development Corporation, Special Central Assistance to Scheduled Caste Subplan, Scheme of Assistance to Scheduled Caste Development Corporation, Venture Capital Fund for Scheduled Caste, Credit Enhancement Guarantee Scheme for Scheduled Caste, Self-Employment Scheme for Rehabilitation of Manual Scavengers, and Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Yes, the ministry also has undertaken a number of programs and schemes for uplifting the social status of scheduled caste population in the country. This include the Protection of Civil Rights Act 1955, Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Rules 1995. The prohibition of employment is manual scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013. Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007 and Biosestra Saman 2021 National Awards for Senior Citizens. Other important schemes of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment include Babu Jagjivan Ram Satravas Yojana, Dr. Ambedkar Foundation, Dr. Ambedkar International Center at Janpat, New Delhi, Dr. Ambedkar National Memorial at 26 Alipur Road, Delhi, and Babu Jagjivan Ram National Foundation. Well, dear teacher trainees, now let me tell you something more in details about the important activities done by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment for bring about the educational empowerment of the disadvantaged sections of the society in the country. The Scheduled Caste Development Bureau aims to promote the welfare of scheduled castes through their educational, economic, and the social empowerment. And eight such various scholarships are provided to the students belonging to the scheduled castes to ensure that the education is not denied due to the poor financial conditions of their families. So these scholarships are provided at both pre-matric as well as post-matric levels. And the scholarships are also provided to scheduled caste students for obtaining higher education in India and abroad, including primary educational institutions. The scholarship can be broadly classified into the following three types: pre-metric scholarships. Second one is what you call post-metric scholarships, and the third is scholarships for obtaining higher education coaching schemes. So let me start with the first type, pre-metric scholarship. Uh, Under this type, there are two sub forms of scholarship. Let me proceed on the first one, pre-metric scholarship for scheduled caste students in India. So the main objective of pre-metric scheme is to support the parents of scheduled caste children for educating their words so that the incidence of dropouts at this stage is minimized. Uh, Second one is pre-metric scholarship for the children of those engaged in unclean occupations which are prone to health hazards. So this is also a centrally sponsored scheme which is implemented by the state governments and the union territory administrations, which receive 100% central assistance from the government of India for the total expenditure under the scheme over and above their respective committed liability. So this scheme was started in 1977 and 78. Second type of scholarship provided by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is nothing but post-metric scholarship. So this scheme is the single largest intervention by the government of India for educational empowerment of scheduled caste students, and this scheme is in operation since 1944. So this is a centrally sponsored scheme, and 100% central assistance is released to state governments or union territories for expenditure incurred by them under the scheme over and above their respective committed liability. The third type of scholarship made available with the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is nothing but a scholarship for obtaining higher education coaching schemes. And these include, firstly, the top class education for scheduled caste students. So the objective of this scheme is to promote qualitative education amongst students belonging to scheduled castes by providing full financial support for pursuing studies beyond 12th class in notified institutions of excellence like IITs, NITs, IIMs, reputed medical, law, and other institutions. So scholarships is awarded to the eligible scheduled caste students on securing admission in any of the institutions notified by the ministry. Second subtype of the scholarship provided in this category is nothing but the National Fellowship. This scheme provides financial assistance to scheduled caste students for pursuing research studies leading to MPhil, PhD in equivalent research degrees. Third subtype of scholarship in this category is National Overseas Scholarship. So this scheme provides assistance to students belonging to scheduled caste, denotified, nomadic, and semi-nomadic tribes, etc., for pursuing higher studies or master's level courses and PhD programs abroad. The fourth and last subtype of the fellowships available in this type is free coaching for scheduled caste and OBC students. So the main objective of the scheme is to provide coaching of good quality for economically disadvantaged scheduled caste and OBC candidates to enable them to appear in competitive examinations and succeed in obtaining an appropriate job in public or private sector, right? So the scheme provides central assistance to institutions or centers run by the central or state government or union territory administrations or central or state universities, PSUs, registered private institutions, NGOs, etc. So coaching is provided for Group A and B examinations conducted by the UPSC, SSC, various railway recruitment boards, and the state PSCs. Officers grade examinations conducted by banks, insurance companies, and the PSUs, and the premier entrance examinations for admission in engineering, medical, and the professional courses like management, law, etc. Uh, Other extra scholarships of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment include National Fellowship for OBC students, upgradation of merit of scheduled caste students, a special education development program for scheduled caste girls belonging to low literacy levels, scholarships for higher education for young achievers scheme, and the Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship for providing scholarships to scheduled caste students to pursue programs in higher education such as MPhil and PhD degrees. As a part of the educational empowerment activities, the ministry in 2012 launched Oblinja, an online library for visually impaired college students. At launch, the library included 12,000 books in 10 languages. So this was a great achievement on the part of the ministry. Yes. One of the important verticals of Inclusive India campaign is inclusive education. So it is about the effort to make schools inclusive for children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Is that simply inclusive education is the creation of learning environments that maximizes the potential for every young person in our diverse societies to receive a high quality education alongside their peers in local schools. The right to an inclusive education has been explicitly expressed in the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the right to children to free and compulsory education Act 2009, as well as Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. So delivering inclusive education for all will require transformational change in education systems so that inclusion becomes an intrinsic feature of policy, culture, and practice from the classroom to policy level. So with this understanding, the transformation of the education system would involve contribution of all the stakeholders, namely parents, families, teachers, professional experts, school principals, and education policy makers. Uh, in this context, the National Trust and Autonomous Organization of the Government of India, working for the welfare of persons with autism, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, and multiple disabilities, launched the initiative of Inclusive India on 6 June 2017 with an objective to bring inclusion in the education, employment, and community life of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this initiative was launched by the Honorable Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Sri Thawasan Gehlot, in the presence of Sri Vijay Goyal, Honorable Minister of State in charge Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Rajiv Pratap Rudi, Minister of State in charge Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Sri Amitabh Khan, CEO Niti Aayog, and Sri Yuri Afansasif, UN representative to India. So now, my dear city trainees, I'm arriving at the concluding part of this lesson. And from the foregoing discussions, it is concluded that since the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment was formed for welfare, social justice, and empowerment of disadvantaged and marginalized sections of society, thrust has been giving on promotion of education of this section of population in the country through the launching and the materialization of various programs and schemes including education scholarships. So with this, let me say thank you once again for attending to this lesson.